Merry Christmas, everybody. We're going to talk about the Santa Claus rally today because there's a lot of misnomers about it. A lot of people don't really understand what it is. And I also think that there's a lot of flawed reasoning as to understanding why it occurs. The Santa Claus rally was first identified in 1972 with historical data. So that's a long time ago. And it means that there's something perennial driving the Santa Claus rally, not something modern. A lot of explanations of modern trading phenomenons and stuff like that, I don't think they hold up because of the length of time the Santa Claus rally has occurred. It was defined by Yale Hirsch in 1972 in the Stock Trader's Almanac. It specifically is referring to the last 5 trading days of the year and the first 2 trading days of the year. We have a great setup this year after the recent volatility and selling for a good Santa Claus rally. The recent collapse in the VIX, which we have been talking about and which we got you into on a trade, as well as the strength of the U.S. consumer, convinces me that we will have a good Santa Claus rally this year. Okay, so as you can see, we got the collapse of volatility and we nailed it pretty good. And our latest position is up about 2/3. And so we're glad to have provided a good position like that to you to take advantage of this second historic collapse of volatility in 2024. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons why people say there's a Santa Claus rally, whether it's window dressing, tax considerations, end of the year, capital, finding something to buy, light volume. They may all contribute to an extent, but what I think it really has to do with is consumer spending. And so one of the things that bodes well about this year is that there is a record amount of consumer spending planned on holiday gifts and seasonal items, which that in itself might not mean too much, but in a layer of positive economic data, I think it shows a lot of economic confidence throughout the economy. And I think as we see that holiday spending, it's a key driver of the Santa Claus rally. Um, we did get recent data on consumer sentiment that was troubling to the downside. Um, but one of the things I want to point out about the survey data and the strength of the consumer is that most Americans think their own finances are okay or comfortable, and they think that the local economy or the US economy is not as good. There's a massive gulf between these two things. So what that says to me is that a lot of this was kind of because of a season of political vitriol, a very acrimonious election season. And you could see the massive change in Republican sentiment once Trump won. It went from very negative to very positive. So I wouldn't put too much stock in survey-based data. I would pay more attention to the hard economic data. And that's all been very positive. Um, One of the major positive things that I think is behind the economic resilience and the strength of the consumer is that for much after 1980, for much of the beginning of the 21st century, worker compensation lagged productivity. And while that may still somewhat be the case, it has reversed and is starting to catch up. Um, so even though we've experienced historic inflation on the heels of COVID, we also had wage growth that exceeded the levels of inflation significantly. And that's one of the things that enables consumers to still spend despite rising prices, even though they don't like rising prices. And even though it affects a lot of people negatively, in the aggregate, the consumer has been able to earn more than the damage done by inflation. And you can see there, um, it's been by a lot in the post-COVID cycle. And this is part of the reason why I think a Santa Claus rally can happen, and very good holiday spending numbers are on the way, probably record numbers. And these next 7 trading sessions, I think, are going to be on the net positive, and I think they're going to comply with the historic trend of a Santa Claus rally. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. We'll obviously be off tomorrow, and happy holidays to everyone who doesn't celebrate Christmas. We have had a great couple of weeks at Punk Rock Traders, and we hope to earn more subscriptions. Check out our new prices, and be sure to check out our opening bell note. It's a great way to get caught up every morning.